Another dirt bike? What do we got going on today?
No front brakes and another upgrade. All right, so exhaust is leaking right here. You can see, look at the splatter all over the bike. So it's all over the bike and all over the rear brakes. That's not good. So we're going to fix that. Got a new exhaust gasket for that one. And then the front brakes are pretty well non-existent. Like this goes right to the bar and the bike doesn't stop. So we have a master cylinder rebuild kit, front caliper rebuild kit, and a set of front brake pads. So hopefully that'll take care of the whole front end on this thing. Otherwise, it's going to be sketch for me to ride. We'll figure it out. And the upgrade we've got, this is cool. This here, brand new, never installed, Boysen reeds. So that's going to open a little bit of horsepower, which, like, I don't need the extra horsepower because this thing's pretty crazy as it is, but whatever. So that's what we've got going on today.
So what are we going to do first?
Well, the exhaust gasket's pretty easy, so I think we'll do that. Just got to pull the side panel and then the muffler, and we'll just replace that gasket. Easy peasy. All right, Link, so now we got to rebuild this master cylinder and this front caliper. So I think the best thing to do is we're going to drain all the brake fluid out, and then we'll just take them off and we'll rebuild them on the workbench or maybe the so knock this hose off here and here, and then yeah, we'll just start taking one off and rebuilding. All right, so we have the All Balls Racing front master cylinder rebuild kit. So here's our master cylinder. I think what I'm going to do is take this handle off, like the brake lever, and then we'll see what it looks like inside. I haven't done one of these before, so this is all new to me. All right, got that off a flank. Take the rubber shroud off, and I don't know. I think we got to. There's got to be a snap ring or something in there, eh? Like this rubber should come out. Ah, there we go. Yeah, all right. So if you look in here, there's a snap ring. I imagine we have to pull that snap ring out. We'll pull the lid off, and we'll see what the internals look like. We may have to clean some of this, but lucky for us, we have an ultrasonic parts cleaner. Okay, those are really stuck in there. I'm going to get my little impact. I'll show you what that is in a second. All right, so this is called an impact driver. So it's not like an electric impact. This one is different. So you hit the end with a hammer, and it puts pressure on the bit. And depending which way you have this thing set, it can either tighten or loosen screws and stuff. So if you look closely, when I push down, see, oops, right into the plastic table. It turns it out. So should be ideally doing this on a workbench, not a plastic table. But if you put that in there like this, and then if I hit it with a hammer, it should spin that out in the proper direction. We may have to move to the workbench because I think the plastic table is going to give her too much flex. So let's see if it'll work. See, does that work? Nope. Okay, let's go over to the workbench, Link. Okay, so we're in the the vise so it's a little more solid, and let's see if this will work. There we go. Try this next one. Come in close so that you can see, Link. You put that in and then give her your old one more. Oh, hang on, do that turn. Yeah, see, that turned on me. That's going the wrong way now. There, so you gotta make sure you have it turned the right way to pop it out. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Broke it loose. See, it's all about having the right tool for the right job. Okay, let's go back to the table. Okay, so we got those loosened off. So we'll take these screws out. Okay, and I'll take the top off. And there's some fluid in there. Dump into the drain pan. There's our brake fluid. All right, I think it's time, Link, to get a snap ring and start pulling this all apart. Or snap ring pliers. Sorry. All right, so we're gonna pull this snap ring out. There we go. Snap ring out. And we should just pull the piston, spring, seals, washer, everything out of there. That's that. So now there's just a rubber seal in there. Let's have a look at what we got for parts here. And then we'll see what we need to clean up in the ultrasonic parts cleaner. Oh, cool. Look at this, Link. There's a seal. There's the rubber plunger cover. This bag is ripped open. So there's a spring, another seal. There's the circlip, the spring pin. There's some screws. There's the washer and some copper crush washers. Oh, awesome. So we got everything. Okay, so we'll take this all apart. We'll put it in the digital parts washer, get this all cleaned up, and then we'll start reassembling. All right, so to rebuild this master cylinder, I was talking about putting it in the ultrasonic parts washer, but I don't know if that's a good idea because there's going to be water in there, and water and brake fluid are not supposed to mix. That's bad. So it's fairly clean inside there, so I think we're just going to rebuild. We're going to redo the seals and stuff on here, and then we'll just put it all back together. So if you're doing this at home yourself, it's super easy. It's like, okay, the spring fits that way, and then the seals, you just replace them part by part, and it's super straightforward. So like pop the spring off, put that to the side. We have this seal here. We'll pop that one off. There we go. I think that's the smaller of the two. Hang on, I'm gonna grab a little tool. So there we go. If you have little hooks like this, they're very handy for doing these seals and stuff. So you just hook it in and try not to scratch anything. Just kind of work that and pop it off. But pay attention to the orientation of the seals as well, right? Because if we're going to put the new ones back on, we got to put them on the exact same way that the old ones came off. Super easy. Like, don't need to take your bike to a bike shop to do this. You can do this at home like we are. Okay. So we have a small seal and a big seal. And I say small and big just based upon the diameter of the opening. So I'm not sure if you're supposed to cover this in brake fluid or not when you put it all together. We'll put some brake fluid on it when we're done. Oh boy, this is going to be tough to get on there, Link. Oh yeah. So now here comes the hard part of trying to get this on without damaging it. So we'll try our best. Okay, that's not going to work, buddy. we better pause. Okay, well, we missed showing you guys how to put that back seal on, but basically we just put it on the end and worked it all the way down on the cylinder here. So that's done. So those two seals are in place. And then we have our new spring. It should just pop on. Yeah, there we go. New springs on. So those will slide right into this master cylinder. Just like that. Okay, and then we have our new washer and our new circlip. And it's just about all back together. Nice and easy. So here's the washer. Here's the circlip. Oh, I think, did we grab the wrong? Oh no, we didn't. Okay, so I'm going to push this down with my thumb as I put the snap ring in. Make sure that's in the right spot. I think there we go. That's it. So you can see we got the washer and the snap ring back in. New seals on the cylinder. So that's done. So all we've got left is, what do we have left, buddy? Got the copper crush washers for the banjo bolt. We got new screws for the lid and this seal here for the plunger on the end. And that should be it. Master cylinder, all done and rebuilt. Okay, so we just put the lid on for now with these new screws, and we got the seal installed on the plunger, and we just got to put this rubber back on and then the lever and the bolt. So just put it back in the same orientation. We live on an acreage and I forgot that we're out of brake fluid, so I don't think we have enough, so we have to run to town and get some. But for now, we can finish rebuilding this stuff. So that's how that fits on. So we'll just fold it back like so to put the brake lever back in. I wonder if we should clean that first. Nah, it'll be fine. Probably should clean that first. Whatever. We're going riding tomorrow. Right, Link?
Yep.
So this just threads in. I don't really want to use the impact yet. Oh. Is that a 10? Oh, that's a 12. Okay, I guess I will use the impact then. There we go. That one's in. And then the lock nut on the bottom. There we go. That actually does feel a lot smoother than the old one, buddy. So maybe that was part of the problem. I don't know. The brakes on this bike before we started, they were so like squishy and just didn't work. So, okay. That part's done, Link. Here's the copper washers for the banjo bolt. We'll put that back on. We'll move on to the caliper next. Okay, so we've got the All Balls Racing. They gave us a sticker. This is the caliper rebuild kit. So, I don't know, there's a rubber something or other there. Another rubber something or other there. Oh, here's the caliper pin. Here's the bleed cover. Another bleed cover, I guess, in case you wrecked the first one. And here we go. Here's seals. So there's 2 thick seals and 2 thin seals. I imagine those are for the pistons inside. And then more copper washers for the banjo bolt. So that's cool. Let's start to dismantle the caliper and we'll just kind of figure out where everything goes. All right, so we're going to start to disassemble this caliper. Okay, so now when we go to disassemble the caliper, something that you have to be very mindful of is the parts that you have. So looking at the parts that we have, I'm confused as to whether or not they're the correct parts for all of this. So we're going to be careful when we disassemble it, and then we're going to compare the parts that we have, because there's no instructions or anything with this. We're just going to fumble our way through and figure it out. So kind of how we do everything around here. Hey, Link?
Yeah, that's about it.
So I'm going to start off by removing the brake pads. And once we get the brake pads out, we should be able to take this caliper bracket off, and then we'll start kind of doing some more disassembly. So there was this little cap that was, you needed a flat blade screwdriver or slotted, and now there's Allen heads in there. So let me grab some more tools. All right, so we've got a 5mm Allen. Oh my gosh. Whew. I guess that wasn't coming out. I think part of the problem too is that the fork seals were leaking last year. If you guys want to follow back or look back on one of our other videos when we did the fork seals last year on this dirt bike, I think the fork seals were leaking all over the brakes. And so I think all of the seals on the brake pads are no good. And the brake caliper are no good. I think the brake pads are oil soaked, and everything about it is not working properly. So that's why we're rebuilding these today. Okay, so yeah, look at that, Link. Look at those brake pads. I think those are oil soaked.
Yeah.
That could be why they don't break anymore. Yeah, they even feel it. So let's do a comparison of the new ones we have. Oop, that's the wrong side. Okay, so here's this side. Looks to be the same. Same size. Okay. Brake pads, those are going to work. So that's good. Now what about this rest of this thing? Okay. I don't know how this all comes apart. Does it just pry apart? Maybe? Looks like it. I'm trying not to pry on the piston. There we go. So this is just on the caliper pins. It should just come. Bracket should. There we go. Bracket's off. Got it, Link. Okay. So that bracket is off. The caliper pins. So what we're going to do is for these caliper pins. Oh yeah. See that? That's one piece we just took out. We're going to clean up inside these holes and stuff, and then we may like re-grease them, and we'll clean off these pins, and we may re-grease those too. Because if they lock up, your pistons will push onto one side and the caliper won't move. Like this won't slide on the pins, and then you'll just wear out the brakes on one side. Probably not that important on a dirt bike, but on a car it is. So, okay. All right, Link. Let's shut the camera off for a minute, and we'll try and go through this, and we'll figure out if we got the right parts, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we've started to dismantle the caliper, and everything looks like all the parts are going to match up. We kind of started comparing the seals and all of that, but we can't get the pistons out of the caliper at all. So what we decided to do was we threw it in our ultrasonic parts washer. So it's in there. It's just warming up right now. We ran it through one cycle, but it's cold, so we're going to let it warm up, and we'll run it through another cycle. We might add some solvent. But in the meantime, we're going to reinstall the master cylinder on the bike. And then if we still can't get the pistons out of the caliper, we're going to connect it all back up. We're going to put some brake fluid in there. We don't have much. We just have a little bit. And we'll just use that, and we'll try and push the pistons out of the caliper and see if that works. And then we can do a proper cleaning and seal replacement. So let's get this back on the bike, Link. So when we go to put the master cylinder back on, it's just held on by a regular bar clamp. It says right on it which way is up. 8mm head bolts. Now, if you want, before you take this off, a good tip, which we didn't do, is if you just take a Sharpie and you just mark on the clamp and then on the bar, kind of gives you the where the position was before. But I can see the dirt mark on there, and I want the master cylinder right in that position. So I'll just snug this up right here, and then we'll use the little mini ugga-dugga to tighten it down. It should be good. The other thing, watch, I'm going to let go. It's going to fall, Link. Are you ready? Oh, it didn't. Oh. But the other thing is that they gave us new crush washers for the banjo bolt, which is really nice. You're supposed to replace them every time. I moved it. You're supposed to replace those banjo bolt crush washers every time. But I mean, if you do an inspection on it and they look fine, you can probably reuse them. Because we have brand new ones, we're going to use them. Make sure those are the same. So there's, with the crush washer on, one has to go on the bolt. Then the other one goes on the other side. Bolt that back in. And then we'll torque it to spec. All right, so to get the pistons out of the caliper, they're stuck. We tried connecting this back up and then just using the brake fluid and with the master cylinder and pushing the brake fluid through to push the pistons out. It didn't work. So now this is full of brake fluid. And so what I'm going to try is I'm going to try pushing air into this hole. So I have a blowgun with a rubber nozzle that'll fit into there. And the brake bleeder, of course, is closed. And these should come out. But as you can see, if we just blow air in there, those will just come shooting out. And we don't want them to come out like that. So I've got the old brake pads. So we'll put those in. And there's a very small gap in there for those. So we'll try that and we'll see if the pistons move a bit, and then we can take one of them out, and then we have more room for them to come out. And then I'll probably find something else to put in there just so they don't come shooting out. I don't want to pry on the pistons or anything to try to get them out because I don't want to score them or mar them. Okay, so let's try the air method and see what happens. Got the air, the blowgun, the rubber nozzle. Sorry about the bench, it's a big mess. Whoa, I felt something happen there. Whoa, as my blowgun goes away. Look at that. They started to come out. Okay, so I'm going to remove one of the brake pads. We'll try that again. Geez, that worked really well. I didn't think it was going to work at all, but that's excellent. So we'll try this again. See what happens. Well, that was cool. There we go. So they're almost all the way out. Okay, I wonder if I can just pull them out by hand. No, I cannot. They're still pretty stiff, but I don't want them to go shooting out. So I wonder what else we can put in there to help stop them. Something a little thinner. Square? That might work. That's pretty thin. We'll try that one. Okay. Seems to be working. Looks like they're almost all the way out. Man, I'm just really worried about them going shooting across the shop or something if I put... okay. Well, they're almost there. Almost there. Maybe if a guy just keeps working them. Oh yeah, they're moving. There we go. There's one. Okay. And this one's coming out too. There's the other. Okay, cool. We got those two pistons out. So we'll do an inspection on these. Make sure there's no scoring or marring. We'll make sure they're nice and clean. Maybe we'll throw these in the ultrasonic parts washer. And here's the two seals that need to be replaced. So we'll probably just get a pick and pull those out and pop them back in. I think this whole thing is going to go into the ultrasonic cleaner again. All right, well, I decided not to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. I don't know, I think I'm not too worried about how dirty it is on the outside. It's more the inside that's the concern. So we're going to replace the seal. So we have a thick and a thin seal. And you can see inside there's a thick and a thin seal in there. So I have a dental pick. I'll clean off. And we'll use that to remove the seals just by prying inside. Pop it out. There we go. There's one little thin seal, and then we'll get this thick seal out. I'm being very careful not to score or mar the aluminum caliper housing. There's the other one. So that I don't create any spots where the seal might leak. So once we get these out, I'll clean this all up again with some brake clean, and then we will, this is tough. We'll put the new seals in. Whoop, there we go. So I'm not too worried about damaging these seals, but I wonder if a guy should, because I don't know if these are the right ones or not yet. So let's do a quick comparison. They look to be the right diameter. Inside outside diameter is the same. And so is the thickness. Okay, so the large seals are the same. And the small ones, let's check those. Again, they are the exact same inside outside diameter and thickness. Now looking at them, there is no lip, so there is no top or bottom. Or yeah, okay, perfect. We'll clean this up and then we'll install the new seals. Okay, you might have noticed in the time lapse, cleaned up where the pistons go and the seals. I used the dental pick and I wrapped the end of it like this to get in the grooves to clean it all out. And then I used the blowgun to dry all the brake cleaner because it evaporates very quickly with air. And then I don't know if you might have noticed for putting the seals in. So my hands are clean. I washed them, so they don't have dirt particles on them. But to put these seals in, you just kind of put it in the groove and work it inside, and it just pops right in. Hopefully you can see this. Unfortunately, my filming partner is feeling a little under the weather right now, so he's kind of trying to get better. So there we go. So you can see that one just popped right into place. Okay. And then I've got the last small one here. Same thing. Whoop. Whoa. Cat-like reflexes there. So got the same one. It's got like some manufacturing dust on it, or talc or something. I don't know. Anyway, there is a little bit of a lip there, but it looks to be uniform on either side. So I don't think this matters. And if it did matter, I would have had to look to see which way the old one came out. There you go. Look at that. That's quick and easy. So fast. And then here's the pistons. Now, I don't want to slide the pistons in dry. I'm worried about damaging those seals. So I've got some brake cleaner. I'm just going to put some, or brake fluid. I'm going to just put some on my finger if I can get it. I bought a new bottle, so for bleeding later. And I'm just going to lube these up. Just get some brake fluid on those because I don't want them to get torn or come out of place. So, okay. Maybe we just put some on top of the pistons as well. Won't hurt. There we go. Yeah, I'll put some on this one. Okay. Now these are uniform, so it doesn't matter side to side where they go. I'll just slight pressure, try to push them in. Past the first seal. Ooh, that's a stiff one. All right. Try this with this side. Just gentle pressure past the first seal. Oh, and past the second one. Okay. So now why is this one not wanting to go? Ah, that was itchy. It should just slide in. Let's try a little more pressure. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Look at that. In like Flynn. That was actually pretty easy. So now we'll set up over at the table and we'll finish assembling the rest of the brake caliper and doing an inspection, and then it's on to bleeding the brakes and putting it back together. Okay, so we got the pistons and seals back in. So now it's just a matter of reassembling this the way that it came apart, which isn't too hard. Here's the old brake bleeder dust cover. I could probably just reuse that. It's in excellent shape, and that's fine. So I can just, I'll save these other two for other projects. Let's put that aside. Now, we have these two rubber seals here. And where did they go? This one went into here. I don't remember which way. Dang it. And then this one was on here when this all went together. Which way did this go again? Oh boy. Like this. That's how that went. So it goes on like this. So we need to make sure we get those seals in place. So let's do that right now. So this one, I know, was in here. So I'll just try and push, work it through. If I can't get it through, we'll put some WD-40 on it. And it does not want to go through. Or can we push it through that way? Nope, that's not going to work. Why do they got to make this difficult? I'm trying to show people how to fix their bikes. Okay. Oh, I almost had it. I think if I fold that a certain way, push it through, should go. It's trying to go. Come on, you son of a gun. There we go. Boop. Got that one in. And then this other one fit. If I can open it. This other one. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. This other one has this edge here, which pops into this groove in here. So we'll just try and get that worked in. Is that in place? Not quite. There we go. And let's take this little awl and make sure it's worked into the groove. There we go. Boom. Bob's your uncle. Okay, so those two are done. Grease. I should grease these pins so that they slide. Let me grab some grease. Okay, so I've got my grease gun. The reason I'm using my grease gun versus anything else is because I know I have a tube of high pressure or multi-purpose or whatever synthetic grease in here. And I prefer to use synthetic grease on anything I can. So there's a little bit of grease. We'll just grease up these pins. So that way this caliper will slide nicely in there. on the bracket. It's not so important on a bike, but on a car, if the C's on those pins, the piston side will wear the brakes out and the opposite side will have no wear. And sometimes you can't see that if the pistons are on the inside of the wheel. Okay, so this should just slide back together. We can get it to fit. Get these to mate up. It's a little stiff with the new rubber. There we go. So that has nice movement, smooth, perfect. It's exactly what we're looking for. All right. Now we have these two little metal brackets that we have to put in for the brake pads. We'll put the new brake pads in as well, if I can remember how these go. Might have to look back on the video. Oh, geez. Uh-oh. Not like that. Oh, boy. I'm not sure 100%. Oh, this one fits in here. Ah, maybe I should have put that in first. Jeez Louise. Okay, that one fits in there. This one fit that way? You must. And here's our new brake pads. Ouch. Yeah. Okay, so we got the new brake pads, and they fit. One like that, and one like that. So they fit in like that. We have the new brake pad pin right here. It's in there. Oops. Piece of plastic stuck on that. We want plastic in there. There we go. And it's got a thread locker on there, so it's going to be a little stiff to put in. But you want this to bottom all the way out. So once this is bottomed all the way out, oh my gosh, that's stiff to put in there. Then we will put the protective cap over top of it. Ooh, that's tough. Okay, so proper torque spec. There we go. And then here's the protective cap. And we'll just put this back into place until it bottoms out. Okay, that's back in place. That's all ready to go back on the bike. We're not going to put it back on the bike just yet. Oh, this brake pad popped out. We'll get that fixed. But anyway, we're going to we got to put this back on the bike, and then we'll bleed it, and then we'll put the cap back on. So we're going to leave that off for now. Okay, so before we put the brake caliper on, the brake rotor is greasy and gross from the leaking forks and the problems in the past. So we're going to clean it with brake cleaner. Hopefully most of it goes into the pan instead of all over my feet. Let's see if this works. Because if we're going to put nice fresh brake pads and stuff on there, we don't want grease and oil to mess it all up. Let me grab some paper towel and give that a quick wipe down as well. We don't want to wreck our brand new brake pads and stuff, so let's see how that looks. Whoa, that was dirty. Try this again. That's much better. You see. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Squeaky clean. Perfect. Okay, so I got the brake pad put back into place in the little holder, and I just had a screwdriver stuck in there just to hold the pads. So now we're ready to bolt this back on. Let me just grab my bucket of parts, and we'll get this in place. Which way did that go? Brake bleeder up over top of the brake rotor, just like that. And then these bolts hold the caliper on. And we'll make sure we torque those to spec. There's one there and one there. Perfect. Look at that. I believe those are a 12 mil. Yeah, that's torqued it good enough. One little ugga-dugga. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, so next we've got our banjo bolt and our brand new copper crush washers we're going to use. The old ones are in the pan there. So again, put one on the banjo bolt, and then that goes through the banjo fitting, and one on the other side of the bolt. And then you route your line to where it's supposed to be, connect it to the caliper, and it's just supposed to be right there. You can see how it follows the little guide here on the bottom of the fork. So we'll put that in place, and we'll hit that with the torque wrench as well. When I say torque wrench, I mean one ugga-dugga. There we go. That's probably good. Now, I'm not putting all of this back in place yet, because when I go to bleed this, I'm going to use my vacuum bleeder, because the line comes down and then back up again. Hopefully we get all the air out of the system, but I don't know. We'll try. Has anyone seen a vacuum bleeder before? Well, here it is. It's a Power Fist from Princess Auto. For you Americans, that'd be like a Harbor Freight. And so what we're doing here is I connect this onto here, pull a vacuum, crack the bleeder. It sucks the fluid from the top down to get rid of any air. It works pretty well, but I don't know if it's going to be perfect for this. We'll try it. So first step, you need an 8mm wrench. Now put your 8mm wrench on the bleeder like this, so you can loosen and tighten. Then you take your brake bleeder with the reservoir, put that over top of the bleeder. You want your reservoir to stay vertical if you can, so that way it sucks the fluid into the container and not up to your actual vacuum bleeder. So I'm going to set this down. And what I have to do next is I have to fill the master cylinder with .4 brake fluid, is what it calls for. And then we'll start to begin the process of bleeding the brakes. Okay, so we have the master cylinders open up top here. It's currently empty. We are going to get our .4 Lucas synthetic brake fluid. Not sponsored by Lucas, but they make good products, so that's why I chose to use that one. So we're going to fill this up right all the way to the top. Try squeezing the handle a few times to see if it'll force fluid down. Level's not really dropping. Ooh, don't shake it too much. Don't spill this on anything, you guys. This .4 brake fluid or any brake fluid is corrosive to paint. Okay, so we'll set that there. Now we'll begin the process of using the vacuum bleeder. It works really good if you have another person to help you to keep an eye on the reservoir level, because if you suck the reservoir level down and now you're pulling air through the system, well, that's no bueno, because you just got to start all over. So I'm going to watch my gauge and pull a vacuum. And then I'm going to crack the bleeder and watch my vacuum gauge as it drops and watch my reservoir level. It is also dropping. That's a good sign. We've got brake fluid going into the system. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this reservoir. And there we go. I'm going to stop it right there because that level has gotten low and I do not want to suck any air into that system. So we'll top this off again. There we go. And I'll put a vacuum on here again and crack the bleeder. And oh, there we go. Perfect. It's fluid is going down in the reservoir. So we're filling this whole line and hopefully filling the caliper at the same time. And stop. So, oh, look at that. We're starting to get a little bit of fluid in this hose. I should have emptied this reservoir. Here, let's do that right now. So I'll empty this reservoir to the pan. Okay, put the lid back on. And make sure you get this lid on perfect because it does have a seal. And because this is a cheap Princess Auto one, sometimes it does not quite always fit perfect. There we go. Okay. With this closed, let's just test to make sure I got the container sealed properly. No, I don't. It's not holding a vacuum. Try that again. Nothing. This is my pays to buy quality tools. But this is all I have and nothing's open today. Okay. Okay, I think we got it now. All right, we'll fill this back up again. Okay, now that we've done that, we've got some good brake fluid coming down below. Let's see if we can pump this up. Get our front brakes working. That is not working at all right now. Looks like there's a lot of air in the system. Oh, hang on. It's starting to stiffen up a little bit. I see air bubbles coming up through the master cylinder here. Let's try some more. Bike is really shaky on this stand. Yep, lots of air bubbles coming out of there. But it's not stiffening up. That is not a good sign. We may have to try a different method of bleeding, but we'll see. See, I don't think that the level is going down, which is no bueno. See, because that is not front brakes at all.
we bled it as best as we can, and here's a little test run.
That's not great.
We're thinking we're gonna need a new brake line.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a little bit since we've been working on the brakes of the YZ250 because it's been a struggle bus. We rebuilt the caliper, which was earlier in this video. We rebuilt the master cylinder, which is earlier in this video. And we still have a very squishy brake lever, which is not good. And the brakes they're not great. So they're okay, but they're not great. Like they will not lock up the front tire. So we've cleaned everything. We've got new brake pads. You know, we went through and we rebuilt both of those. And the only thing I can come up with is possibly that this factory brake line is starting to delaminate in between the layers, and that's where the squishy brake pedal is coming from. So we ordered a couple of different ones that we found on Amazon, but they were way too short. So then I found this one by Moose Racing, which we ordered up, and it looks like it's the right length and it's going to work. So we're going to put this on right now, and then we're going to show you a couple different methods on how to bleed the brakes on your dirt bike and see if this fixes the problem. The reason the Amazon ones were not good is because they came down and on typical newer dirt bikes, I don't know if I have one a little close, but the brake line comes like this, and then it comes behind the fork and down to the brake caliper. But as you can see on this YZ250, the brake line comes down, wraps around the bottom of the fork, and then to the caliper. So this can be a tricky one. Make sure you don't have any air bubbles in here. But anyway, so yeah, let's get into this. Okay, so we've got the brake line, the new brake line installed. It's a nice unit. It's stainless steel. It's pretty tight here though. I'm not sure I like how tight that is. However, it is at full extension. So like that's the tightest it'll ever get. It'll probably get a little bit looser as the suspension compresses. Or I could just take this plastic kind of line holder off maybe. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'll take it for a burn around the yard. Anyway, on to bleeding. So to bleed the brakes on a dirt bike, there's a few different methods. One, you can just do like normal, where you fill the reservoir, you pump it till the fluid goes down, you know, using your bleeder on and off. But the other thing you can do is you can use what's called a vacuum bleeder. So this one here, you create a vacuum with this tool. It's a handheld vacuum pump, and this jar where the fluid comes in and drops in, but then it pulls vacuum from the top. So you try not to pull the fluid into the vacuum pump. So you put this on, and then you can just suck the fluid from the reservoir down, which works okay. It's been a good tool to use on some other applications, but I wasn't sure if it worked great on this one. So I tried another method. This was all before we replaced the brake line. A syringe. So if you get yourself a big syringe, make sure it's nice and clean because you don't want to put any contaminants in there. And you pull brake fluid into the syringe, you put a hose on it, put on the brake bleeder, and then as you feed the brake fluid in, it pushes and it's kind of like a reverse bleed all the way up to the master cylinder. So you can do that as well. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to try the vacuum method first, because that one I can do by myself, which I'm trying to do right now. My daughter and I are supposed to go dirt biking tomorrow. So hopefully we can get this sorted out. Okay, so step one, we've got to open the master cylinder. Just a Phillips, 2 Phillips screws on there. And make sure you use the proper brake fluid, because they have different boiling points. It usually tells you right on the master cylinder. This one's .4. So I bought some Lucas .4 because I think Lucas makes a good product. Not sponsored by them or anything. And there's still some fluid in there from when I just changed the line. So what you want to do is you fill this up so it's almost to the top. You see how I have the bars turned a little bit so that the hose is kind of angled up, and then the master cylinder is also kind of angled up. That's to help get air up to the top. I guess it doesn't matter if we're going to vacuum it out though. Okay, so that thing is like right full to the top. And here's the trick. When you go to put your wrench on your bleeder, it's fully closed right now, which is all the way up. So you want to make sure that you have enough room to open it and then get it back to the fully closed position. If you start down here with the wrench that low, it's hard to get it to open enough. So you want to start with the wrench up fairly high like this. So we're going to put the wrench on. Then we're going to, got a twist in my hose. Okay, so got the wrench on. And then we're going to put, it's good to use like a clear hose so that way you can see air bubbles in there. And then also when you open the bleeder, if you watch the fluid come through here, if you have somebody pumping the brake or whatever, if they stop and it tries to suck backwards, you'll suck fluid in instead of air. So the hose is a good trick, even on any kind of a brake bleeder on a car or anything else. Okay, so we got that on. We're going to test to make sure we get a good vacuum. We have no leaks. So we pump the vacuum up, looking at the gauge. There's a small leak someplace, but it's holding fairly well. Okay, so we're going to do this. Pump it right up. Now I'm going to crack the bleeder, and I'm going to watch the level in the reservoir. When the level gets fairly low, I don't want to suck air into the line. We're trying to get all the air out. So I'm going to close the bleeder when it gets to that point. So crack the bleeder. Watch the reservoir going down. And stop. So that, oh, I didn't stop it. Oh, I must have pulled too much vacuum. Shoot. See, this is sometimes where it's good to have an assistant because they could have just poured more brake fluid in there. I hope I didn't pour or pull a bunch of air in, but I think I did. I think I heard it. That's not good. Okay. Try this again. Still showing a vacuum. So crack the bleeder. Maybe I can do this as it's going down. Kind of fill as it's going. When you do this, you got to watch your hose at the bottom to see if you're getting any fluid. I don't know how much it's going to take. I see some bubbles coming into the hose at the bottom. Taking my time. There's lots of bubbles in the hose. I don't know if you guys can see that with the camera here. Probably not. Holding good vacuum. Okay. Just keep doing this process. So you want to keep going until you get no more air bubbles down here. Okay, we're going to stop for a second. See what we got here. Well, it's getting stiffer, but it's not great. What is going on with this thing? So another couple of methods. Some people say you just rattle the line, try and get the air out. You can put a zip tie around this overnight and let it sit, and usually the air comes out. But it's the same as it was before. What is going on here? I don't understand. Like, the master cylinder was rebuilt exactly the same as it was stock. The caliper was rebuilt exactly the same as it was stock. New brake pads. I'm not sure what is going on here. Let's see if we can get some more bubbles out of it. See, now the other problem is if you don't have a good seal on the threads, sometimes you'll see bubbles coming into your hose from the threads, because I've got a good vacuum on it right now, and I think when I crack this, I may be getting bubbles from the threads of the bleeder. I don't know. Still drying down quite a bit. Okay. Well, maybe we should try method 2. Maybe we should try reverse bleeding the brakes with the syringe. Maybe that's the ticket. Maybe that's how we're going to get all the air out, force it up to the top. So to do that, this is all clean, fresh brake fluid. So I'm not too worried about that. Like, that's not contaminated. Dip that in just to lube it up a little bit. There we go. So we'll suck in all the brake fluid. I feel like a doctor. Take this hose, put this on the syringe. Now you want to get all the air out of this, because you don't want to put air back into the system. Obviously, that's what we're trying to avoid here. So I'm going to push the air out of the syringe. all the way to the end of the hose. Try not to squirt myself in the face. Whoop! Like that. Shit. Okay. So now we're going to put the hose on the bleeder. That's going to sit like that for a second. See, there's an air bubble there. So I just turned this up so that the air bubble will come to the top. And I'm going to put my vacuum bleeder back together because I can use this to evacuate the brake fluid out of the master cylinder while I'm pushing it backwards. So here's another hose from the vacuum bleeder kit. Just put this one on. There we go. And now we're gonna vacuum some of this out. So we can, okay, so that vacuumed a little bit out. So now here comes the hard part. Like I said, if you have an assistant, it makes this a lot easier. So now what I have to do is open the bleeder and push the brake fluid in. So that's open. Now we're going to force it backwards. I can see it coming up into the master cylinder. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. And I'm going to evacuate that out again because it's really full and I don't want it to spill. Okay. Just keep going. See, the bleeder's open, and that's okay because if there was an air bubble, it would travel up back towards the syringe. Yeah, I see lots of brake fluid coming up into the master cylinder, so that's exactly what we want. I don't see any bubbles though, which is not what we want. A waste of brake fluid, but it is what it is. We're trying to get it so we have actual good brakes. This might be the last time I do this one. Okay, that's quite a lot of brake fluid, so we're gonna tighten up the bleeder. Okay, leave that syringe there. Let's see how the brake feels right now. Yeah, it's a little bit better, but it's not great. I don't know why it creaks like that. You guys hear that? Like, I can still pull it right to the bar. I shouldn't be able to do that. Well, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure what else to say. We rebuilt both the master cylinder, the brake caliper, new brake line. Everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be done stock. No problems, no issues with anything, but it just doesn't have brakes. Is this going to overfill? And spill out? Oh yeah. Oop. Okay. Well, only thing we can do is put this all back together and then take it for a test drive. See what we come up with. Man, there's brake fluid everywhere. Got a mess to clean up. Where's Link? Why can't he come out here and help me clean all this up? Okay. Man, brake fluid is nasty. It gets onto everything and it ruins paint and decals, and I don't like it. Maybe we'll try doing the old-fashioned brake bleed real quick, where we squeeze the lever and bleed some off into the syringe. I don't know. It's just not great. Okay, well, let's just try the old classic brake bleeding method, where you pump this up, you hold it solid, you crack this. I don't know, like it feels a little better, but I don't think it's perfect. It's probably good enough for me. I'll just deal with it. I guess we don't need front brakes. I'm not sure what to say. I'm just going to put it back together, wash the bike, take it for a test drive. I'm not sure. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Sorry you guys sat through all this shitty video, because I don't know what to say about the brakes on this thing. If anybody out there can chime in and put something in the comments, where did I go wrong? What mistake did I make? What did I miss? But like, I'm at a loss, you know. Rebuilt the caliper, rebuilt the master cylinder and a new brake line. Bled it numerous times, every which way from Sunday, and there's still shit brakes. Like, there's no way that you should be able to squeeze that to the bar like I am. You know, it should stop right there halfway, but it doesn't. If I hold the brake, well, I mean, like, maybe it's better, but it's not where it should be, and I'm at a loss. Anyway, so if anybody has any tips or tricks or anything, please put them in the comments. I don't know what else to say other than I'm going to wash this thing, load up, and me and my daughter are going dirt biking tomorrow, and hopefully I don't die, because I don't really have good front brakes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.